Hello, this is The Gaze, and you are welcome to the News Digest. Today, in the episode, Rubio-Lavrov meeting postponed indefinitely for now. Russian oil business stopped as Ukrainians knocked out another facility. Civilians in danger. Russian occupying forces assault Pokrovsk residents. The meeting expected this week between Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been postponed indefinitely. This is reported by UNN with reference to CNN. On Thursday, October 16th, U.S. President Donald Trump had a 2-hour phone conversation with Russian dictator Vladimir Putin. Following the conversation, the head of the White House announced a new summit with the Russian president, which, probably, will take place within the next 2 weeks in Budapest. The leaders plan to discuss ways to end the war in Ukraine. Earlier, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was tasked with preparing a summit between Russian dictator Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump, held, we quote, a constructive discussion of possible concrete steps in the interests of implementing the agreements reached between the leaders. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov planned to meet on October 23rd. The meeting was supposed to agree on the terms of the upcoming summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. But as the meeting is postponed, Trump only calls for the sides of the conflict to stop where they are and stop the killing.
I met with President Zelensky, as you know, today, and we had a very good meeting, very cordial meeting. In my opinion, they should stop the war immediately. You go by the battle line wherever it is, otherwise it's too complicated. You'll never be able to figure it out. You stop at the battle line, and both sides should go home, go to their families, stop the killing, and that should be it.
According to sources in the White House, after previous negotiations between the head of the U.S. State Department Rubio and the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, officials concluded that, I quote, the sides, Russia's position on the war in Ukraine had not changed enough, end of quote, and also the end of plans. It is reported that Rubio not only is not meeting Lavrov anytime soon, but is unlikely to recommend a meeting between Putin and Trump next week. Moreover, a story takes an unexpected turn. Poland warned Russia's dictator Putin traveling through its airspace for a summit with the U.S. President Donald Trump, saying it could be forced to execute an international arrest warrant if he did.
I cannot guarantee that an independent Polish court won't order the government to escort such an aircraft down to hand the suspect to the court in The Hague. The ICC warrant obligates the court's member states to arrest Putin if he sets foot on their territory. And therefore, if this summit is to take place, hopefully with the participation of the victim of the aggression, the aircraft will use a different route. Radosław Sikorski, Poland's foreign minister, in a comment for Polish media.
Bulgaria, however, would be willing to let Putin use its airspace if the summit is held in Hungary. Foreign Minister Georg Georgiev was quoted as saying, an oil refinery in the Russian city of Novokuybyshevsk, Samara region, has suspended operations following another Ukrainian drone strike, Reuters reported on Monday, citing 2 industry sources. According to the sources, the attack, already the second this month, forced the shutdown of the primary oil refining unit, AVT-11, which has a capacity of 18,900 metric tons per day, around 138,500 barrels, as well as the AVT-9 unit. Last year, the Novokuybyshevsk refinery processed about 5.74 million tons of crude oil, producing 1.1 million tons of gasoline, 1.64 million tons of diesel, and 1.27 million tons of fuel oil, according to the report. The refinery had already been forced to halt operations after a previous drone strike last month. Industry insiders say production may resume in early November if repairs proceed as planned. At least 57 Russian regions, more than half of the country, have faced fuel shortages following Ukraine's strikes on Russian oil refineries, mostly affecting independent gas stations. In August alone, there were at least 14 recorded attacks, followed by 8 in September, and 4 more in the first 10 days of October. According to BBC estimates, since January, Ukrainian drones have struck 21 of Russia's 38 largest refineries. a 48% increase compared to all of 2024. Operators of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine detected and destroyed a camouflaged Valday radar system located at the Jankoy airfield. The Valday radar is a next-generation radar complex designed for detecting and countering small aerial targets. As Ukraine continues deep strikes and drone operations into Russian rear areas and occupied territories, systems like Valdai represent a layer of defense that Russia counts on. Disabling them gives Ukraine greater freedom to operate. It demonstrates that Russia is responding to the changing nature of war, i.e., the drone era, by fielding specialized counter-UAV radars, which means these become high-priority targets. The repeated reports of Valdai being hit suggest that even advanced systems deployed by Russia are vulnerable, therefore signaling both capability and vulnerability. The American aerospace company Bell Textron has announced its readiness to supply AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters and UH-1Y Venom multi-role helicopters to the armed forces of Ukraine. The company shared the news on its official website, confirming that the initiative has been under consideration for some time. Recently, representatives from Bell Textron and the Ukrainian government signed a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) in Washington outlining prospects for industrial cooperation, including the potential delivery of these advanced helicopters.
We are proud to announce this agreement and the possibility of delivering these aircraft to Ukraine. This initiative has been in the works for a while, and we're looking forward to bringing it to completion. We are confident that the H-1 helicopters can play a crucial role in strengthening Ukraine's defense capability, providing essential upgrades while enhancing the country's current air support capacity. Jeffrey Schlesser, Bell's Senior Vice President for Strategic Pursuit, in a joint statement with the Ukrainian side.
Both helicopters, the AH-1Z Viper and UH-1Y Venom, are flagship platforms of Bell Textron, sharing about 85% common components, including the tail boom, engines, rotor system, transmission, avionics architecture, software, flight controls, and displays. In addition to direct deliveries, Bell Textron expressed readiness to establish a production and maintenance facility in Ukraine for assembly, servicing, and repair of the helicopters. According to Ukraine's Ministry of Economy, Environment, and Agriculture, the memorandum sets a framework for developing domestic manufacturing and service capacities, boosting the nation's high-tech engineering sector and overall industrial potential. In Pokrovsk, Donetsk Oblast, Russian troops killed at least 3 civilians. Another woman suffered serious gunshot wounds. Video evidence of yet another war crime committed by Russian occupiers appeared on social media on October 19th. Enemy sabotage groups occasionally enter Pokrovsk. According to military personnel, the situation around the city remains tense as the invaders attempt to expand their gray zone by infiltrating from several directions. More details on the situation on the Pokrovsk sector of the front are included in the report.
This video was recorded by a Ukrainian drone. It captured the site of an execution of civilians in Pokrovsk, in an alleyway near the train station. At least 3 people were killed there by Russian soldiers.
We see a wounded woman who is moving from the city centre toward the Diners district. Her legs are shattered. I can't even imagine how long she's been lying there. Not far from her, there's an elderly man. Nearby, there's another woman on a bicycle. She was also heading out of the centre and was simply shot in the back.
Another man was killed right at the railway crossing. According to Denis Christov, shooting civilians is a common tactic used by Russian forces. He says they've done the same in every temporarily occupied town in Ukraine.
I keep asking myself, why are they doing this? What's the point? But the answer is simple. Because they can, and because there will be no consequences. Russian propaganda will once again deny these video proofs, twisting and distorting everything.
A joint strike reconnaissance group of Ukraine's defense forces located Russian occupiers hiding inside one of the railway station buildings and neutralized them, according to Ukrainian military reports.
Currently, Pokrovsk's defences have been reinforced with additional forces and resources. Special units are actively screening likely infiltration points and intensifying patrols throughout the city. Over the past 2 days, Ukrainian troops have eliminated 14 Russian soldiers who managed to infiltrate Pokrovsk. 7th Air Assault Brigade of Ukraine's Rapid Response Forces on Telegram.
Russian forces have made minor advances toward Pokrovsk, according to analysts at the US-based Institute for the Study of War. However, the enemy does not have full control of the area. Ukrainian defenders continue to launch active counterattacks. Ukrainian forces are also detecting and eliminating Russian sabotage and reconnaissance units attempting to enter Pokrovsk.
From a military standpoint, it may look good on the map, deep manoeuvres, wide flanking movements, but after nearly 3.5 years of war, we all know that these are not the Russian army's strengths. They simply aren't capable of sustaining or supplying such breakthroughs. That's why I'm confident they will fail.
The situation in the city remains dire. Transport links have been cut. Using fiber optic controlled and FPV drones, Russian forces are monitoring and controlling the roads around Pokrovsk.
The enemy is trying to flank Pokrovsk from the south and southwest, aiming to enter the city. Sabotage reconnaissance groups have been active in that part of Pokrovsk for quite some time. Today, counter-sabotage efforts are very intense. The main task for the defense forces is to drive the Russians out of urban structures, because the enemy's goal now is to ignite urban combat. They want to establish a foothold in the city and wait for reinforcements.
It's currently unclear how many civilians remain in Pokrovsk. As of mid-August, over 1,300 civilians were still reported to be in the city. Reported by Natalia Husak, Volodymyr Shtengelov, UATV News.
That's it for today. Thank you for standing with Ukraine. Subscribe to our channel to stay updated on world events. Brought to you by the gaze from a Ukrainian perspective. See you next time.